Can anyone help me out here? I'm looking for a lost episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm sure some of you remember, if you were from the northern part of Virginia and watching the show, you may have seen this. Some backstory first. However, I first recall seeing this episode when I was 8. It was episode 66 of season 1. There was only one season, and it was only aired in Northern Virginia, as the broadcasting station had a northern notice to not to play the final episode due to its extreme adult content. This was the station's choice, and it was purchased as a sided right for the area, but concerned parents later sued them after several children came down with light neutral hemorrhaging, causing severe nightmares and vomiting. Viewing this episode killed no one, and older viewers seems amused to the effect of whatever caused the bleeding out. Needless to say, the freeze was put on the production, and it was hushed up on the news. The show was replaced with a series named Sonic the Hedgehog. I started my search of the episode after the nightmares from watching the episode returned after 16 years of the nightmares were vivid. It contains visions of people in a long line, all of them clutching their faces in despair, and people in a line spread the full length of the streets had seemingly abandoned their cars and joined other people waiting. Everything had a dark red tone in it, like the sun was burning out like the sunset and never fully went down. Those that weren't in the line slinkered the streets dead. I can't recall much of the dream beyond hints of the looting, things like a line of dead riot police cars, smashed windows, and collapsed skyscraper in the distance, and upturned cars. But no one in the line paid attention to this and simply sobbed at the lines shift forward. The nightmare ended with one of the members of the looking directing me. He said nothing but shifted in an unnatural pose, his arms on a 45-degree angle and his legs spread into a box over the ground, his mouth agape, and he did this. The rest of the people in the line did the same thing, shrieking in a different twisted pose. They were looking at me. I woke up with tears in my eyes. My logic step to find this episode was the station that already aired it, and there was nothing odd to the station. My management has long since moved on committed suicide, as the new manager pointed out to me over a cup of coffee. The new manager I discussed with the station's past, I intentionally erased into the subject and the last episode, and as it turned out, I was right to do so. When I brought it up, John, however he'd be known, really spilt his coffee in his lap. He told me the subject was a personal one to him, and he turns John was the original owner's son. He was kind enough to explain to me that the legal fees was too in conjunction with the mail he received from children and parents alike pushed too far to hung himself in the family's kitchen. It was called a little taken back by this news. So I figured it was digging too deep, and I decided to drop this madness and maybe call it a day. Before I could exit John's office, I told him he would send me the mail. His reasoning: he wanted me to know what happened, crucially, almost as deep as mine, which wasn't surprised considering the episode killed his father. I told him I'd take a look deeper into the subject and get back to him anything that he dug up. The letters were as one would expect. Angry mutters asking what kind of station will air such filth. Legal fees ranging hundreds of thousands of dollars, enough to send stations broke in the 90s, and coarse drawings of children dissecting scenes of the episode. They were thinking like the blood and usually dull colors that were piercing throughout the horrible things, like Robotnik vomiting blood and Tails crying on the corpse of the headless bird. One letter, however, caught my attention specifically, and the letter was from the producer of the series. Thank you for purchasing the rights to air the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Copyright Sega, episode 1993 to 1994. All rights reserved. Unclose the series list. Episodes descriptions of episodes 1 to 66. Delivery of one season and the legal information regarding the ratings and air times. In poor handwriting at the bottom of the page, a scrawled note that had placed at the words Episode 66 is not to be aired. This is a database error that contains corrupted material. The initials JS followed. I set out to find the episode, but there was no inval. The second plan is to ask the people who sent out the angry letters from the episode about to take it out. Those who haven't moved away since I get cancelled. I don't know. Or, not this again. Responses. But I did chance upon a guy around my age that remembered the tape for the episode. He highlighted to show the VHS copy. It was badly decayed over years in the neglect. His garage, though, took only a few bits. Tails screaming at Sonic with tears in his eyes. How could you, Sonic? Why have you died? The rest of the episode was static, with potential screams with twisted figures. Not animals or people, but just figures staring at the viewer. With the circular mouths and open black eyes, and to a straight screech. The tape sent chills up my spine as it asked to take the tape for research I was doing into the episode. I agreed quite readily, promised to keep him updated about it. I took the tape back to John and we watched it over for about 15 times until John jumped back to his seat. He told me the figure with black eyes and spoke for a brief moment. He claimed he saw his lips moving, as the word he thought was. We watched it the same 1 second flash of what we had saw 30 times, and each time we both attempted to freeze on frame, and the figure it disappears. Pause. I called it a day there. I needed a better copy for the episode if we were going to find why it ended the entire series and cost me nightmares for much of my childhood. Short to travel to France to talk about the animation studios, I gave them a call. They brutally told me I was no episode 66. 65 was the last episode of the season. Knowing this was a dead end, I called it again and asked for the contact information of the voice actors. Most information I seen the information of the actors were of Robotnik, Scratch, Grounder, and Sonic. All gave number not in service. Errors or people told me that they had a wrong number. However, I did manage to contact one person. Christopher Even Welch was the voice of Tails. I managed to hook him up with a fake interview about the 90s television. As you may well expect, Chris turned up wearing casual clothing and a smile on his face. He looked like the average guy in the late 20s. As he sat down, I asked him about his roles in bands and television, working my way to Sonic when I did get there. However, he got really quiet and envied. I asked him specifically about episode 66, and he froze. His pupils almost reacted to nothing, and he looked at me, telling me the episodes only went to 65. I knew better, of course, and asked him about his script, where he was talking to Sonic about something that he had done. The man grabbed his face, not in frustration, but to wipe his tears. They were beginning to weld up. He took a deep breath. He told me the episode was written by Jeffrey Scott, who was a usual followed. Jeffrey was a nice man, and he was patient with Chris as he read the script, being 11 at the time. But as the first season drew to the close, Jeffrey had become angry with everyone, even 11-year-old Chris. The voice actor Robotnik and Sonic threatened to quit over the behavior, but executive producer paid them both very large sums of cash in hand right there to read the script Jeffrey had written. Apparently, Jeffrey had an order up high up the top of Zega, as far as Chris knew at the time, to produce this episode, and it was listed as the business priority. Chris explained how they read the script as felt sorrow, terror. It was as if it was lost a clone friend or family member. Even see those that people died before them. He told me the scarring of his voice cords and the screaming was involved reading the script. Even the extreme exhaustion of the other voice actors involved. The session ended with the security pulling the voice actors from the studio before things went even worse. Even his mother pulled him from the episode the next day, fearing for his safety. I stopped the interview there and asked him the copy of the episode, but none were ever sent back to the voice actors. That as far as I come to the search of episode 66. I have heard that there might be a copy in the studio of France, but I have no way getting in there because of my budget. I know it exists, and many more people out there must have a VHS copy, so that's why I asked the internet. Help me in my search, please. So, if you guys like this creepypasta reading, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to watch all my videos. Watch them, and I'll see you guys next time. See you guys. Peace.